Welcome to Backyard Cigars. I'm holding the Lord Byron Gran Poemes 19th century siglo XIX cigar by Nelson Alfonso of Select Tobaccos, I believe. And this is a brand that was created by his family. So the story with this one is that in 1848, Jose y Eusebio Alfonso created a cigar line to honor the great British poet Lord Byron, who was very fond of cigars, wrote poems about cigars, loved cigars intensely, loved Cuban cigars intensely. And so they created this cigar in his honor in 1848. It was reported by many that this was the first cigar to use a lithographed cigar band with a name on it. I did research, and I have a previous video that I did on cigar bands and the history of cigar bands. While I did not reference this particular myth or rumor, whatever you might want to call it, in regards to the first cigar that had a band, I did talk about a lot of different cigars that were reported to be the first to distribute with cigar bands, like the H. Upmans and so forth, and a few other Cuban brands. I mean, it started in Cuba, that we know, but I could not locate any hardcore archival evidence that the Lord Byron brand was the first. So I'm just going to chalk that up to hearsay and, a good story. Could it be true? I mean, I'm not going to say it couldn't be true because I could not prove which one the first cigar was. But for any brand to say, and I'm not saying Nelson Alfonso is saying this about this particular cigar, or maybe they are. I didn't find any direct quote to Nelson Alfonso saying that this particular line of cigars, when created in 1848, was the first. I didn't see that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is on their website. I didn't check their website. But what I can say is that if any company is saying that, or if anybody out there is saying that, I would say, like the old saying goes, take it with a grain of salt, because if you don't have proof, then you can't say it. That's just, you can speculate. And you can say it's reportedly, which means maybe, maybe not. Likely, also highly unlikely. It's just, I like to deal with facts. I like to deal with proof, evidence, and when I speculate, I say just that. It's pure speculation. I could be wrong. So I'm not going to say that this is the first. I can't. I don't have proof. I even dug a little further before I did this cigar review to see if, in fact, I could find anything in relation to cigar bands and this being the first. And I could find nothing. So unless someone out there has this kind of archive evidence, then please bring it forward. Nelson Alfonso, if you have it, bring it forward. But this cigar was available, the original line, up until the 1930s. And at which point the cigar line just disappeared. Now, fast forward to 1998, when great, maybe an extra great grandson, Nelson Alfonso, pretty much recreated the line and put it out. Created in Costa Rica, like most of his cigars, it contains a wrapper of Ecuadorian shade, binder undisclosed, filler. The parts of it that are disclosed are the Nicaraguan and the Peruvian Ligero. And then there's a third part that's undisclosed, keeping in line with what Nelson Alfonso does in saying that certain things are undisclosed for various reasons and we don't know why. And a lot of times we just guess, and we know that he's using, Nicaraguan tobacco in some cases, and some people speculate that he may be using Costa Rican tobaccos along with Dominican tobacco as well. And then in previous years, the whole mystery and rumor of him using Cuban tobacco as well. And him, of course, never confirming nor denying what was what. So it kind of just became a little game, and I don't really have time for games like that. I just want to talk about what the cigar brings to the table, really, and how I'm experiencing it. Look, a $37 cigar is nothing to joke about. A $37 cigar is nothing to take lightly. Nelson Alfonso has established himself as the leading premier package spec monster. He can package a fine cigar like very few people on this earth can. And for this particular line of cigars, when it was introduced, I believe you, if my reports are accurate, from 2012 to 2016, you saw this line premiere, the Gran Poemes. Gran Poemes. The line itself resuscitated in 1998, but this particular line, I think it was either 2012, 2016. But nonetheless, this particular cigar was rolled in 2016 and then aged for 5 years. Thus, Reserva 5 años, 5 year reserve, 5 year. It was laid down, and so here we are in 2022. I purchased this in about 4 months ago, in this year of 2022. So I've had it in the humidor a couple of months, and I've had it at about 64, 65 RH. Now this bad boy is a 6x56. Some people are labeling it Vitola size of a Churchill. Once again, I'm going to go and say that's not a Churchill size, but whatever. It's a 6x56. It's a big cigar. And for $37, I actually paid about $35 on the Eastern Coast because I got it on sale. Big sale, right? $2 off. And I thought, it was a recommendation by a fellow reviewer who was smoking it on a live chat, on a live Zoom that I did with him, and he said he recommended it wholeheartedly that I get this cigar and try it. He didn't say to review it. He just said you should try it because it's amazing. I love it. Billed as medium body, medium strength, very smooth cigar, aged tobaccos. We don't know how long that tobaccos have been aged. We only know that the cigar was laid down to rest for 5 years after being rolled. And I have it on good authority that quite possibly the tobacco may have been aged anywhere from 5 to 8 years inside as well. Not 100% about that, so I can't confirm that. So Lord Byron loved his cigars, and I guess one could say that he definitely deserved to have a cigar named after him, especially during that time when he talked so much about the love of his Cuban cigars. So that was important. But how am I experiencing so far going into this first inch? Well, I will say that initially I thought the draw was a bit conservative and possibly rolled a little too tightly, but then it started to open up, and I'm starting to get some cedar, some cocoa, hints of leather, slight fruity note that comes and goes. Very smooth. Amount of pepper. Smooth pepper again. Yeah, again. Here we go again. Smooth pepper. We talked about that. It just works out that way sometimes, and it's a good thing. And you want a certain level of refinement in a $35+ cigar. Like I said, not a joking matter. We work hard for our money. We put down our money on a cigar like this. We have expectations, and they need to be met, right? I think we can agree on that. And these, if you buy these in the 25 count in the box, you will witness something extraordinary, right? You will obviously witness the extraordinary amount of money that will be reduced from your bank account or your wallet. But you'll also realize that what you're getting is something on a super premium level. You're going to be getting a French oak, fancy wood humidor where these cigars are kept in, humidor grade quality, and you're going to get a built-in hygrometer, built-in I think temperature control, all of that. I forget what it is, a humidifier. It will be you know, so opulent, and it will be something that you will look at, and it will captivate your eyes, and it's a beautiful thing to look at packaging like that. And it's even more beautiful when you can actually open it, smoke something, and it matches that beauty. The flavors and the quality of the tobaccos match the beauty of the packaging. Because I don't care if you make something beautiful, if when I smoke that cigar, I'm not going to be moved. I'm gonna feel like I got something that is perhaps a collector's edition or a collectible, if you want to call cigars collectibles. I don't like to call cigars collectibles. I don't, but I understand that sometimes there's a business side to it where you're collecting certain things and you're reselling them, and you're possibly just storing them and aging them so that at a later date you can sell them as a vintage cigar. I think that there's that part of the cigar culture that can appreciate that, and I don't see anything wrong with that. Spices like cinnamon, dash of nutmeg, cedar backbone, leather hints, mild fruitiness with cream, dried fruit, earthiness, conservative draw, wonderful aroma, conservative draw that I'm not too fond of, but a good amount of flavor, very mild to medium so far, providing a very good finish. And good flavor. Wonderful cigar so far. And mind you, I say wonderful cigar so far because, and I say that maybe not as enthusiastically. When I say it's a wonderful cigar in the sense that it's well balanced, it has good construction, it has good tobacco in it. But at this point, I'm not being wowed. I just think it's a wonderful, lovely cigar, mild to medium, good smoke so far, very good smoke. But let's see if it can bring the wow factor. So, have I been on a roller coaster of transitions and flavors? Yes. Has it been the type of roller coaster that I want to ride twice? As of now, no. Because as fine as a cigar it is, I believe it to be in regards to the way it was crafted, the blend. Nelson Alfonso blended this cigar. It is well blended, but it just feels very safe to me. It just feels like a very safe blend, mild to medium. I'm not holding the mild to medium against the cigar. I'm not saying because it's mild to medium that mild to medium equates to safe. I'm simply saying that the roller coaster that I have been on in regards to the flavor profile, with the cedar, with the hints of leather, with the abundance in spices, baking spices, with the red pepper, with some of the dried fruits. Nice. Nice, yes. But wow? No wow factor here for me. Big cigar, big price tag, no wow factor. You do the math. There's some creamy cedar. There's an array of flavors here. For those of you looking for an abundance of flavor, well delivered, well crafted, well blended, you will find it. And you will find yourself smoking an excellent cigar that you will say to yourself is an excellent cigar, but then you will also find yourself asking yourself if $35 to $37 is what you think the cigar is worth. And again, that's Eastern Coast. Don't know what it's going to cost somewhere else. Don't think you're going to find this much cheaper somewhere else, though I could be wrong. It's just an expensive cigar all around, and most of Nelson Alfonso's cigars are expensive, and in many ways can be justified to a certain extent in regards to the work that's put into them, the aging process, the fine tobaccos, the dependable palate that Nelson Alfonso does have. But coming from the perspective and my angle of a thrifty smoker who isn't afraid to pay a lot for a cigar, but is always hesitant because I want to be rewarded for what I'm paying for, or I want that quality to match up to my expectations, and I want the price tag to be justified in my mind, because I think a lot of us, unless we're like filthy rich, which I'm not, and even some of us that are filthy rich, despite being filthy rich, we still want what we pay for, and we want the excellence and the fine craftsmanship along with a suitable price tag. But business is business, and we understand how things work. Great. Some of us can look at a $35 cigar as not being too much of a luxury, because if you're filthy rich and you're smoking $100, $200, $500 vintage Cuban cigars and so forth, then this is a this is a dime in the bucket, perhaps. Can't imagine it, but it is. It is. I mentioned my filthy rich friend who, smoked some rare Plasencia cigars that were $50, $60 a pop, or I think it was a Davidoff, and it was like nothing to him. That was an everyday regular cigar. Bless you, brother. Bless you all if you're in that situation. And there's this breadiness also that comes with it, but it's not. No, it's not breadiness. I'm confusing breadiness for a cookie-like flavor. A mildly sweet cookie-like flavor with spices and cedar and an undertone or a hint of earthiness with a layer of spice of like a mild red pepper. So you see, I am enjoying the flavors and enjoying the experience, but I can't help but think I paid $35 for the cigar. I can't, and I don't think that should be ignored in a review, right? You can't ignore it in a review. I think if you're rating the cigar and judging it up against others, then you should try to look past the price and just see the cigar for what it is. But as a cigar consumer, a brother of the leaf, a sister of the leaf, you're looking at the quality of the cigar, and you're also looking at what you pay for, your bang for your buck. This is like a $75 cigar at a cigar lounge in New York City. Some of you might say, well, Jose, you mentioned earlier that it had a very conservative draw. In confession time, I did poke it a little. But here's the thing. Okay, maybe I got one that was rolled a little too tightly, perhaps. And maybe it has a conservative draw. It happens. It's not the worst draw on earth. It was conservative. It opened up a little bit, and then as I got into the latter part of the second, third, I gave it a little poke, just a little, and it opened up a little bit more, and it was satisfactory. But if I'm paying this kind of money for a cigar, I shouldn't get one that is tightly rolled. I should not. It just shouldn't happen. If that's the case, if this is the case, please weigh in, if you will, in the comment section in regards to what I'm saying right now about what I believe that you shouldn't get something like this for 35. I'm gonna end this cigar review by saying I can't recommend this cigar. This is my opinion, my take on it. And if you disagree, that's just quite fine, because it's not as if I'm saying that this is not a cigar that is not a good cigar, and it's definitely not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, for the overall package, if you will, for the overall package, I would just say that, well, I would say if you're really into a mild to medium cigar that costs a lot of money and comes from a very, very reputable and well-respected blender and company, that that you should try it. But if you were to ask me personally, I would say I can't recommend it. But that doesn't mean that because I say that you shouldn't try it. That's the heart of it. That's what I'm saying. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time on Backyard Cigars.